Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with Tom and George. Hello, George.
Hey everyone, how's everybody doing today?
Everybody should have had a good day today. If you were in the crypto universe, if you were in Bitcoin, you had a good day. If you were in most of the Bitcoin miners, you had a good day. If you were in a lot of the altcoins, you had a good day, or at least a good week. This was a good week. So I want to go through it. I got a bunch of, I got all our normal stuff, plus a bunch of articles and some thoughts looking forward. And what I think the Bitcoin miners are going to do in 2025 and what they're already doing. So there has definitely been a shift. I actually have an article from JP Morgan of all places about it. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, for a year, every week I would put up a JP Morgan article, bashing Bitcoin. I actually have one of those too this week, but they have another one, pro Bitcoin miner. So they're acknowledging what's going on, and we'll look at the charts and show exactly what the miners have been doing. But they're performing much better in 2025 as a group than they did in 2024. Now it's still early. We're 17 days in, but hopefully this is a sign of things to come. This is what I'm expecting from 2025. All right, so my like button is broken, but if you guys could hit the like button, we are at 21 likes. It does help the stream out in real time in a big way, so it is much appreciated.
Tom, I'm going to tell you what, I did the craziest move last week.
What'd you do?
I got out of all my Bitcoin and got back in. And I was able to pick up a sizable little bit more. It made me very happy.
So you sold and you bought at a lower price.
Yes, sir. It was a great thing. It was just so, I don't think I'll ever sell it again, but it's just looking back, it just worked out. You know what I mean?
It was a risky move, but it paid off.
Yeah, it was risky.
Yeah, for those of you, I don't know why Sour Melon Gaming is saying, we got 74 people on this stream right now. That's an all-time low in the history of our stream. So if you could help us by smashing the like button, I got a lot to get into. But let's get some people here and talk about it. What's going on today, I don't know about.
Nothing I can think of. Just probably everybody's heads, they're drunk from happiness.
I mean, this was a good week. Finally, we're starting to get some momentum. I believe we're starting to get some momentum. All right. Midway, thank you for the super chat and thank you for being a member. BitDeer announced on Wednesday that the SealMiner A4 machine will be about 6.5 joules per terahash and should be out in early 2026. They expect to have 13 plus patents on their new chip design, which they can then even lease to other industries too. So that's a part of BitDeer, and I know Midway's done very well on BitDeer, and BitDeer is lagging behind in 2025, but that's only because it outperformed all the Bitcoin miners in December. We'll look at it. It was up 50% just in December when all the other Bitcoin miners were red in December. So, it had its run, so it's taking a little bit of a breather right now. But this is something different that they do. They have their own chips and machines, and, they're rolling them out, the Seal 1, the Seal 2, the Seal 3, the Seal 4. Now it looks like the Seal 4 is going to be early 2026 at 6.5 joules per terahash, which, if they can do that, that just decimates every machine out there. If I was them, I would not install a single machine until I had those machines. I'd rather lose a year than install, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of machines that are at 10 to 15 joules per terahash. If you can get all your machines at 6.5 joules per terahash, then you're prepped for the next halving. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Because, I mean, that's a quantum jump. These are getting more efficient at a more rapid rate. And so they're getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper per hash rate. It used to be an overwhelming, when Marathon and Riot and a few others made some initial purchases in the previous 4-year cycle, which was back in 2020 and 2021. We were living in a world where they were paying 5 or 6 or 7 times the amount per terahash. They had to order them in advance, pay for them a lot of times in full, and then wait 6 months or a year to get them. We live in the opposite world of that right now, which is one of the reasons these companies, I think, can thrive, because that formula was too brutal. They needed to get significantly more efficient, and they have significantly more efficient and significantly more affordable. So it is changing the capital expenditure equation required for these companies to keep up with the network. And the publicly traded companies' growth is outpacing the hash rate of the entire Bitcoin network. It continues to do so.
Tom, was this your best week ever in investing or no?
This was not my best week ever. This was a very good week. But there have been, I expect there to be, at least 5 weeks this year that are better than this week for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners.
For me, this was my best week ever and my biggest single day in gain ever.
So, and you had, that is in no small thanks to what you've been screaming about for 3 years, which is XRP.
XRP, baby. XRP.
So you got, for those of you who have been here all along, George was first in on XRP. He's been talking about it for at least 3 years.
I think it's nausea, right?
That's right. And it's running. It had a monster week. And I have several articles about XRP. There's reason to believe it's going to continue to run. The excitement around XRP, one of the articles, I'm going to go to one of them right now because this surprised me. If I can find it. Okay, XRP volume overtakes Bitcoin on Coinbase as U.S. investors' interest grow. So this is how much XRP is on fire right now. They're out voluming Bitcoin. So wow. I thought that was a big deal. And as you look in YouTube and throughout social media, there's more and more and more people calling for dramatic increases in XRP. People are talking about $30, $100, and it's not just one person. And I will tell you, George talked about $100 3 years ago when it was 30 cents. And, it sounded like crazy talk. But now I watched more than one video of people saying, the upside could be as high as $100. Now, none of this is financial advice. I don't think it's going to 100. I do think there's a lot of room left to run. Could there be pullbacks and buying opportunities? There usually are. But I think XRP is kind of ahead of the curve in this altcoin season, which really hasn't even officially begun. So if we go over to the altcoins, we'll take a look. I mean, look at XRP this week, up 39%. This was a good week. Bitcoin up 10.8%, Ethereum 7.6%, but XRP almost 40%, Solana 16%, BNB 5%. That's much more stable coin. Dogecoin was up 25%, Cardano 24%. and then you start to get hit or miss. SUI is having a pullback. It was down 5% this week. So we're not quite there yet with alt season for sure, but it's coming, and XRP has momentum going into this like crazy.
When do you think alt season's going to kick off, Tom?
I still think and that doesn't mean you shouldn't be, dollar cost averaging in if that's your strategy, but I still think we're several months away from and the big push in altcoin season happens a lot faster than Bitcoin, and it happens fast. This feels like forever, but when it happens, you guys know when these things move, they move. And Bitcoin does that, and the altcoins do it to an even, nth degree of what Bitcoin does. So that's one of those where it's real hard to try to time that, because if you miss it, it could be over.
And just so you know, I expect XRP to go more than $100.
You expect it to go beyond $100.
Mm. I expect it to go to infinity and beyond.
I mean, it's a 30x to get to $100 right now, and it just pulled a 10x in the last year.
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, George is broadcasting live from his XRP yacht right now. So
it's insane. I mean, I said this, and I might as well say it. I said it and made everybody mad on the members stream, and I might as well say it now. I've become an XRP maximist.
Yeah, George is all in on. Now, having said that, you're still pro Bitcoin, right?
100%.
You still hold a significant holding in Bitcoin, but you think XRP is better than Bitcoin.
Well, for the utility, yes. I'm sure here comes the hate. But here's the thing. It's easier to use. It's easier to mint a coin on the ledger. It's so simple. And there's such a more widely accepted coin.
Sourmelon Gaming is saying $100 XRP would be $10 trillion. Sorry, George, but that's insanity.
I know.
I know half an answer to that.
I already know
you've talked about.
I already know the answer. Yeah. Do you want to give it to him, or should I?
Yes, XRP's your baby.
They, at some point in time, will burn their wallet of 50 billion coins.
Right, half the XRP coins aren't in circulation.
Right.
So if they get rid of those, that dramatically changes the numbers on all of that.
Just remember, even as you still don't believe me, just remember I said it. It's going to happen, because there has to be something that controls the finances, that controls the money. And I believe XRP is going to be that coin.
So in the comments section, I see a Mr. Credit saying, I'm up 95% on XRP because you brought it up 2 months ago, so thanks. So that's George.
Welcome,
that is George. And I can show you on our, let's go to XRP.
There was something about that boy that eased the tightness in my chest.
Because
Ripple Lab controls XRP. Ripple Labs.
do this. There.
I love me some Chainlink. I have a small position in Chainlink also.
Stuff go, man.
Oh, that's good. I made the stupid. Thank you.
What?
I wish I could promote your like when people say things. I wish you'd like promote it or something.
Move it up the list so everybody can see it.
XRP is the $100 XRP is the stupid thing I've heard so far this year. Well, I guess he doesn't listen to the current administration.
You're top of the list, George. Hey, listen, it's nice to be number one.
Right.
I cannot find this. We did an entire analysis on XRP on the members only stream, and it's not showing up for some reason. But
XRP will top out at $15 or $20, maybe 20. I think what's going to happen with XRP, it is going to become stable at some point in time, meaning that it's going to get to a $10, $100, $50, whatever, and it's going to stabilize there, and it's not going to go up for many, many years. Are you a fiat pawn? Yes, I'm a fiat pawn. Yeah, even if it gets stuck at $3 forever, it was a great call. Like somebody was saying, you said it was going to pull back. I thought it would pull back to $1.60, honestly.
what
You know?
what's a fiat pawn? I mean, we're all still using fiat currency. Don't pretend out there, some of you, that you're off currency. Especially if you're in the United States, because we are still knee deep in choke point 2.0. And
here's what's crazy about this statement. I can tell you that on the stream right now, anybody watching, even as people watch throughout the next week, that I probably have more money in crypto than 99% of every single person watching this thing.
probably 100%.
Does that make sense? It's just because I believe in it. And like I recently sold a house, and I took every single penny that I made from that house and I put it in to this crypto thing.
So I see one person in the comments saying, I'm not using fiat currency. I get paid in Bitcoin and transact in Bitcoin. I'd be interested to know what country you live in, because maybe there are some countries where this is feasible. This is not feasible in the United States. You just can't do it.
That's awesome, Sour. 944%. 944%. Over 100,000 shares. I'm not selling. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Welcome to Talkin Investing.
Isn't that crazy? This has been fun for me. I mean, it's funny because we've had some really rough weeks in doing this, Tom. But it's been fun that we're finally here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you are absolutely right. We've had, and sometimes it's nice to get together on a rough week because, it keeps your head in the game, but it's also nice to have a good week. And I think we're going to have a good year. I think Bitcoin's going to have a good year. I think the Bitcoin miners, and I saw somebody say, can we please talk about Bitcoin miners? We will definitely be talking a lot about Bitcoin miners next.
But this was the best week ever for XRP in a very long time. This was a really good week for XRP. So we got to celebrate a little bit.
Well, and it's a monster week. And remember, when it goes up 40% in 1 week, but you're already up 1,000%, that 40% is a lot more money. Multiples more money. Barry is saying, Barry, thank you for being a member for over 2 years. Thank you very much. When is the video, quote, Elon Musk, online game cheat, but trust him with your life savings video coming out? What don't I know? What did he get? What's happening?
I don't know. I don't know what he's saying either. But I wanna address this from, is it Flame One? Or I guess it's Flame Flamed, like with a. I live in El Salvador, completely off the corrupt fiat system. I agree with that. You and I are much different, George. You are for the system and centralization. I am for self-sovereignty and freedom. I am for both of those things. But in the United States, you have to have a thing called KYC. If you own Bitcoin and it's not part of KYC, you're not allowed to use it. Did you know that?
Right. So we're locked. Now, El Salvador is one of the countries that's actually adopted Bitcoin as their currency. So, there's 1 or 2 places on earth, and this person's in one of them, where you're able to do that. And I'm glad for you. And it's a beautiful thing. I think there's a lot more places that are going to follow along that path. But the United States, we are years and years from being truly decentralized if they ever allow us to be. Now, I do think we're about to move into a lot more decentralized world. We're also about to get a lot of clarity in the coming months and by the end of 2025. And we're going to be able to do a lot of things. I have an article. They're going to, it looks like they're going to start letting banks hold cryptocurrency for themselves, for their customers. Now, I know that sounds centralized, but it goes to adoption. And remember, at any time, once you have your currency, if the banks can hold it here in the United States, the hard part is getting it from a crypto exchange or your own wallet back into a bank. That is very difficult here.
So this is interesting. So I love that we're talking about this because there's ways you can get Bitcoin without KYC. There are ways you can get it, but I don't know if I trust to get it that way. Not for the amount of money it is right now.
Yeah, I
You know
would
what I
say
mean?
0.1% of Bitcoin in the United States is bought without KYC.
Yeah.
So we're just not there yet. In the United States. I mean, in any event, you can move on from that conversation. I mean, I think we all agree we want this to be as decentralized as possible, that it was the point of cryptocurrency, of the advent of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., was to decentralize this and get away from being tied down to a banking system or a fiat currency and the manipulation of currencies globally and that kind of stuff. So I think we're all on the same page on that, but there will still be many people that use cryptocurrency in a centralized way. And that's going to, for those of you who are in it in 100% decentralized, you should be glad about that because it's causing mass adoption and it's causing a lot of additional value. And I think we're only at the beginning of that. So, you use it your own way. Do what everybody, you do you and be happy about it. And, if others are doing it on a centralized way, maybe that's what some people are comfortable with. I particularly, I think as people are older, there's going to be a couple of generations of people that already exist that is just going to be too hard for the majority of them to understand and switch from fiat currency to total decentralization. Right now, what we're really trying to avoid, because remember, I want to bring up an article because right now we're headed in the opposite direction. We're headed towards being the most centralized we've ever been in the history of the world. So let me find this.
Here's one of the things that scares people on crypto is from a government's point of view, you can track every single dollar they've ever had. Let's just talk about Ukraine for an example. You could track every dollar that went to Ukraine. No one talks about that. That's probably going to get us potted down again. Sorry. I say all the stupidest things.
Trying to find this article. Oh, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk my money on a non-KYC in America right now. I mean, you could use a VPN and get onto Binance.
Right. There's lots of ways that you can do it. Are the first question you should ask yourself is it legal? Maybe you don't care.
Right.
Well, I can't find this article, but essentially it's talking about the person that's coming into the Treasury is anti-CBDC. So if we get off of cash and move to a centralized digital currency in the United States, you want to talk about being centralized? I mean, that has been the goal they've been striving for. So now there's no transaction ever that's private. So the new administration is on record, the person that's going through the process of, the nomination process to become the Secretary of the Treasury is officially against a CBDC. And it's one of the things Donald Trump ran on in his platform. And I'm not, for whether you like him or hate him, or you're a Democrat or a Republican, I'm just talking about policy. And as policy goes, the two parties have a very different philosophy. One wants to get as centralized as it possibly can, and one wants to avoid a central currency at all costs. And we're moving into the one that wants to avoid that. So I think that's a better environment. Is it going to be, all bets are off like in El Salvador? No. I mean, the US dollar is the world's currency, so we're never going to adopt Bitcoin as our currency. But it doesn't mean we can't get a lot more user-friendly on letting people decentralize themselves. Governments don't want that. As you guys understand, I mean, that's the last thing a government wants.
In such cases, the state is allowed to seek the death penalty. Prosecution has announced it will do so if the defendant is found guilty. We will have again jury selection. Will our prospective jurors? There is an option.
Okay, let's see. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened today. Let's talk about what happened this week. Get to the Bitcoin miners. So the Bitcoin miners actually had, if I pull this, let me pull a chart up. Got a XRP. Let's go to Marathon, and they all look the same. If I take this and I add Bitcoin, I don't want to go to the 1 day. I want to go to the 15-minute. This is what happened from the middle of the day on. You can see this was the market open. So, Bitcoin was going sideways, and then it had a real uptrend. But at the end of this uptrend, when it really made its breakout, which was here, this was the big breakout. All of a sudden, the Bitcoin miners started just going straight down. So I don't know if people were taking profits. I don't know if all of a sudden all the shorts came back in and said everything's gotten too high, let's start shorting these again. I don't know what happened, but for an hour and a half, then the market pulled back, and you could see Bitcoin pulled back. So everything pulled back at the end of the day. But there was an hour and a half in there where Bitcoin was just going. It had a breakout above 104. It ran to above 105. And the Bitcoin miners were just consistently, every single one of these, Cleanspark, I'll switch to Cleanspark. It's the same exact way. There, boom. This is when Bitcoin pulled back. This is not. Bitcoin was moving up while this was happening. So, it was still a really good day for the Bitcoin miners. It was a good week for the Bitcoin miners, and it's been a good year to date for the Bitcoin miners. But we did lose a bunch of, Marathon was up 14 or 15%. Cleanspark was up 12%. It ended up 6%. Riot was up 6 or 7%. It ended up less than 1%. So everything really did pull back in the last half of the day today. So I don't know if that's your Friday sell-off. I don't know if that's shorts moving in. The volumes were all over the place, so it's hard to understand. But with that said, let's go take a look at what the Bitcoin miners did this week. Because really, it was good news. Okay, so this is this week. From last Friday to this Friday, you'll see Bitcoin was on fire, up 11%. I mean, that is a fantastic week for Bitcoin. So it's having a good week. But the Bitcoin miners, I mean, you can see there's a grouping between 9% and really 13%. That's kind of plus or minus the same as what Bitcoin did. We want better than that. So this week was good. If you had TerraWolf, it was up 19%. CleanSpark was up 18%. Those were, outliers to the upside. This is what we're looking for. 10 ought to at least get us 20. So, yes, it's great. All 12 Bitcoin miners were green this week. That's a good thing. Bitcoin was way up, but we still lived in a world where half the Bitcoin miners beat Bitcoin and half of them didn't beat Bitcoin. And I'm expecting when we go to the year to date, you're going to see we're in a different situation. And really, all of this happened this afternoon with that big pullback. I mean, you got Marathon up 11%, but it pulled back 6% in the last 2 hours of the day. So, that could have been a 16 or 17 or an 18%. That would have made more sense. So for whatever reason, there was a little sell-off, but this is still from corner to corner. This is a green week. And then if we go year to date, right, we have one outlier, kind of two outliers. So the top three performing stocks in 2024 was, we'll go look at it. Core Scientific, TerraWolf, and BitDeer. Those are the three that dramatically outperformed the rest of the field. You'll see BitDeer is more than double its next closest. Half of these companies finished down on the year in 2024. So what's happening is a little bit of a reversal. Now, if we look at December in specific, BitDeer was through the roof when everything else crashed. So, this week, this year to date, BitDeer's down 4%. The other 11 are up. So it's lagging behind, but that's just a little bit of a correction it just went ballistic in December. So I'm not going to fixate on this so much. We'll see if this irons itself out. Core Scientific was the number one stock of the year in 2024 out of the Bitcoin miners. So it's lagging the field a little bit. But what I want to show you is we have 10 of the 12 Bitcoin miners doing the same or better than Bitcoin. And, we have some that are close to, not quite, a triple. Hut's up 31%. Riot, which was a dog all year last year. So I did a little pounding of the table on Riot. I took a lot of heat for it. It was a bad investment for me in 2024, but I'm a buy and hold. So I'm willing to wait. I think there's a lot more to come. Right now, this year, all of a sudden, it's tied for the best performing Bitcoin mining stock. I think there's more room ahead for that. And I think most of these Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, are going to significantly beat Bitcoin in 2025. And the reason for that is you can see, 9 of them significantly underperformed Bitcoin in 2024. So I think as we move into the more parabolic stage of the bull run, I think you're going to see the Bitcoin miners start to participate more in this. I think you're going to see when the December 31st financial statements come out, all these companies are going to look like different companies. Many of these companies are going to go from the worst quarter they ever had to the best quarter they ever had. That's a very rare situation. And it could be 4 quarters in a row, if, depending on what Bitcoin does. For the companies that are hodling, if Bitcoin goes to 150 and then 180 and then 210 and then 250, every one of these companies is going to be minting money, even by GAAP measures. So it's now, not all of these companies are hodling. So let's go to, we should get a poll up, George.
I muted out so you couldn't hear my wife's thing. What will we top out on Monday?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. I'm saying, is the inauguration going to be a sell the news, right? Because we've had a really nice run up coming into this. for Bitcoin. So in other words, do you think just what George said? Are we going to top out on Monday and then start heading down and test some lower numbers? Or is this just rally? Are we just getting going here? Because we've just had a really nice breakout. We had a really nice breakout. So I want to go to the one-day chart and look at Bitcoin because...
Have they mentioned anything about this 5% or, you know, whatever they're going to buy as the government, since they just sold billions of dollars?
I mean, we know what their intention is. The question is, how fast can they do it? Can they do it at all? How fast can they do it? But yeah, I mean, the concept is that Bitcoin is going to become a reserve, and we're going to look towards getting a 5% position in Bitcoin, which would be about 1 million Bitcoin. So you can see, I just went to the one day, and I just want to show you this. So you can see this day, this was Monday. We had this giant candle wick to the downside. We got down to $89,000 on Monday. We have now, subsequent to that, so we were in this head and shoulders pattern, and I'll just go take a quick look at that because I think I did save that. So we were in a head and shoulders pattern. We drew this blue line before all this happened, and we said, you know, if this goes down to here, that would complete the pattern. But remember, a pattern being completed is not a pattern being confirmed. And I know, you know, some people put no value in technical analysis, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. And you got to look at a lot of different things. But even when we went boom, 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 these 3 red days completed this entire blue line, this pattern is not confirmed until we break. This is a head and shoulders pattern. So shoulder, head, shoulder, and this is what's called the neckline, which we kept bumping into. So you need to have a daily candle break below the neckline, close below the neckline. And then for me personally, when I do technical analysis, I want to see the next day's candle confirm that. In other words, open and close below this neckline. So we didn't get any of that. We did not have one single day close below this neckline. And now we're off to the races. And not only that, but if you go back and look, we have now set, you know, a series of higher highs. So when we took out this high, to me, the bearish part of what's going on right now is over, in my opinion. So, you know, and that doesn't mean on any given day you don't have a pullback. But I think we're up from here. I think we will continue to go up. And I said that when we were right here. I just did not see this playing out to the downside. Of course, obviously it could have. You never know. It still could. But if it does now, it will not be because of this head and shoulders, because this head and shoulders pattern has been nullified. So it's invalid at this point. So we're in a new pattern. And to me, that pattern is we are now in higher highs. We bottomed out right here. So that's what I'm looking to continue. Let's see what everybody, first of all, let's get to Midway. Thank you very much, Midway, for being a member. And thank you for the super chat. What do you think about Bitfarms saying on Wednesday at the Needham Growth Conference that they want to stop at 21 exahash this year and not spend any more money or buy more exahash in 2025? Well, my first thing is I'd like to see them get to 21 exahash. Right now, the market doesn't even believe they're going to get to 21 exahash. I don't know that that would be a terrible strategy for them. Again, especially since it seems like the rate at which the machines are getting more efficient is increasing. So I wouldn't mind a pause. I want them to get to 21. right? That keeps them, that puts them bigger than Core Scientific. So that keeps them very relevant. They'll make a lot of money financially at 21 if, obviously, this is all predicated on the fact that Bitcoin continues to move up. You know, whether your price target is anywhere from 150,000 to 250,000. You know, if Bitfarms went and got to 21 exahash, hopefully as fast as they can, and that's where they stayed the rest of the year, I still think their stock should have a fantastic year. But they need to be real clear with us about what they're doing. If they say 35 and do 21, then their stock's going to get destroyed. Right? So a lot of this is about being transparent, accurate, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So I would like to see, they're a very efficient miner. 21 exahash is still a lot of growth. This was a company that had, you know, they were, where were they, at 5 or 6 exahash a year ago. So if they get to 21, they quadrupled. So yeah, they had bigger plans than that. But obviously something's gone on. So the more important thing to me is, and I have not sold any of my Bitfarms, and I continue to buy options. Although the last few days I didn't buy anything at all, but early in the week I bought more Bitcoin options, or Bitfarms options, because I do think their stock is at $1.70 something. I mean, it was under $1.50. In my opinion, at $2, at under $2.30, which was the offer that they got from Riot, to me is just laughable. Anything under that number. So, and I know things can stay, right? The market can stay funny, but my philosophy is at some point your stock will intersect with its fair value. Can you wait that long? Sometimes the market can outweight you, right? Sometimes it's above its fair value and then it's in a bubble. Sometimes it's suppressed and it's shorted and or, you know, the company, in this case, it's a combination. The company missed their target. They had difficulties at the CEO position. And, you know, there was a lot of things that went on at Bitfarms. But if they just mind their business, execute in 2025, I think their stock should go way up from here. I think they're ridiculously, and I'll go, let's look at, so if we look at Bitfarms, they're at an $800 million market cap. So to me, when you compare that to, and I'm going to go to the other extreme, here's a company that they mine, you know, 30 or 40% more Bitcoin than TeraWulf. Now, I understand we got 12 companies. They all have different business models. They all do different things. But TeraWulf's market cap is triple Bitfarms' market cap. Triple. They mine a lot less Bitcoin. Last month, their cost per Bitcoin was much higher than Bitfarms' cost was. And, you know, I think there's a lot built in on the AI hopes here at TeraWulf. But even if you go to like companies like Cypher, Cypher's at $1.88 billion. That's more than double Bitfarms. But if we take a look, I'm going to go to this chart. Here's what everybody did in December. Bitfarms mined 211 Bitcoin. Cypher mined 234. That was a nice move for them. They actually moved from 7th place to 6th place. But these two companies are mining virtually the same amount of Bitcoin. But the market cap of Cypher is more than double the market cap of Bitfarms. And by the way, I think companies like Cypher, their market cap is still undervalued, right? I think they have a long way to run. So if Cypher has a long way to run and it's already more than double Bitfarms, right? Cypher doesn't have plans past what Bitfarms has right now. Now they do. Cypher has laid out some big plans in the future. So we'll see if they can execute those. But if we look at, I think they're very similar in exahash. I think they just passed them, but let's take a look. So Cypher's at 13.5 exahash and Bitfarms is at 12.8 exahash. So in every way, these two companies are very, very similar, and one is double the market cap of the other. And the one that's double the market cap of the other, I think is undervalued. So that'll tell you how much I think Bitfarms is undervalued. I know a lot of you guys probably are sick of Bitfarms and you disagree with me on Bitfarms. And I understand the list of things that have happened that are making people frustrated with Bitfarms. And Sour Mountain Gaming saying Bitfarms toasted any chance they had to run this cycle. So we'll see. Time will tell. Maybe you're right, Sour Mountain Gaming. I think if they execute, I think their stock will go up as Bitcoin goes up. They have a small hodl position, so they're not going to get the benefits of, they do have a hodl. I think they're looking to get it over 1,000, but that's not there's 4 companies that have over 10,000. There's, Riot's got 17,000, Marathon's got 45,000. So as Bitcoin goes up, I think you're going to see those hodl companies during the big move up. If we get the rest of this cycle, right, I think you're going to see those hodl companies have monster months. And Barry's saying Hut's hodl is another reason for it going up. That's right. Hut is probably the biggest mixture. Hut has big purchase orders in for their Bitcoin mining because it did look like, I will tell you, until recently, it looked like they abandoned Bitcoin mining. They hadn't bought a new Bitcoin miner in 3 years. But that has changed. They put big purchase orders in. They kept all their hodl position. And then they bought some 990 more Bitcoin. So they have over 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They're trying to get their Bitcoin mining up over 20 exahash and down to 17 joules per terahash, so very efficient. And in addition to that, they're also an energy company and high performance computing, all of that other kind of stuff. So I don't know how it's going to work out for them, but they're probably the most diversified. They're the only company, I believe, that's really, truly now with their rededication to Bitcoin mining. They are in Bitcoin mining, they are hodling, and they're in high performance computing. The other 3 companies that are doing big hodling really are not focusing on high performance computing. And Cleanspark has outright said they will spend 0.0% of their time, effort, and energy on high performance computing. They are a pure play Bitcoin mining company. And I see somebody saying, amazing that Iron overpassed Riot. So we did. I'll go back to that chart. Iron's at 31 exahash. Riot's at 31 and a half exahash. They don't have as much uptime as Iron does. Historically speaking, Iron's been much more efficient with the amount of Bitcoin they get per exahash. And we talked about this on the channel at the end of December. I felt there was a really, really strong chance that Iron would mine more Bitcoin. We had a poll, and I think it finished about 50-50 who would mine more Bitcoin, Iron or Riot. And Iron ended up mining more Bitcoin than Riot. And I don't think Riot had a bad month. 516 was more than the previous month. I think this was a good month. It's just that Iron had a great month. So I said, I don't know if I was on the members only stream or last week, I said, I think out of all of the monthly operational updates from December, I thought there were several good ones. I thought Iron's was the best. I think they had the best December out of everybody. But I think there were several companies that had a very good December. There were a few companies that did not. Let's see what people are thinking on this poll. Well, inauguration going to be a sell the news for Bitcoin. So 62% to 62% say no, it will not be a sell the news. Bitcoin will continue to run. 38% say yes, it will be. So that's pretty close. But it does favor, the crowd does favor that we will keep running. So I'm going to ask an easier question. We asked this question last week, and it seemed like it was a million miles away. So I'm going to ask the same question. Okay. So the last time we asked this, just a week ago, Bitcoin was more than $10,000 lower than it is today. Will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in January? So if we go to the daily chart, if you were to look at Monday of this week, at the bottom of this candle wick, we were 21% away from hitting our all-time high. But if you look right now, we're 3.6% away from hitting our all-time high. Right? And if you go from the top of today's candle wick, we're just a little over 2% away from hitting our all-time high. So this felt, the last time we asked this question, because this was Monday, so this was Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday. We were more worried about, more people were talking about, what's the target to the downside? Are we going to get down to 85? Are we going to get down to 80? Are we going to get down to 75,000? That is the conversation that was going on, in this time frame. But it did not work out that way at all. We went the other way. Now, I will say, here on the channel, on our poll, a significant number, will we hit a new all-time high? I don't remember what the percentage was, but it was, I think, over 70% of the people, even down here last week, did feel like Bitcoin would hit an all-time high in January. Currently, we are now at 100% in this vote. So if you can vote, please cast your vote. And if you are on a device where you can hit the like button and you just joined us, or you have not yet hit the like button, we're almost at 100 likes. That does help the stream out a lot, and it is much appreciated. We always appreciate all you guys showing up and sharing your time with us Friday after the market closes, regardless of whether we had a good week or a bad week. There's always lots to talk about. So the winner on the day today was TerraWolf, it looks like. But TerraWolf was up 9.4%. So almost all day, Marathon was up the most out of all the Bitcoin miners. So it had more of a pullback. It finished up 8.8%. But these are some big numbers. TerraWolf 9.4%. Marathon 8.8%. And I will point out, Microstrategy was up 8% today. So Microstrategy had its run. And Bitcoin, so this is IBIT, this is BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. It was up 4.4% from yesterday to today. So, a lot of these did, not a lot of these, so a bunch of these did double. Now, Riot, very disappointing. Riot trailed off, and I'm going to go to their chart. So if you look at their daily chart, you'll see they opened here, they candle wicked all the way up here, and they closed at their pretty much absolute low on the day. So let me get rid of this. Right, Riot finished almost 7.5% off of its high for the day. So I don't know. That was just a sell-off. But even with that, if we go back and we look at year to date, Riot's still tied for first place, even with today pulling back 7.5%. So had it held that, it would have been, pushing up 40% 17 days into the year. Now it gave a bunch of that back, as did most of these at the end of the day. But I'm encouraged. This is a chart I'm going to look at a lot, and then a user recommended this next chart I'm going to go to a little while ago, and I think it's a really, really important chart. And effectively, because we double bottomed and most of the Bitcoin miners hit their cycle low last time at the end of December, somewhere in the last week of December of 2022 was the low for the last crypto winter for most of the Bitcoin miners. So, there were exceptions. So I took the cycle low for each one of these and I'm comparing them to the price today. So essentially, that's all of 2023, all of 2024, and now 2 weeks of 2025. So if I go to that chart, this is what the world looks like. Here you've got Bitcoin is up 577% from its cycle low, its double bottom in November and December of 2022. But you'll see there used to be 6 companies underperforming Bitcoin. Now there's 4 companies underperforming Bitcoin. And I do think you're going to see a lot of these. So some of these are already doing what they're supposed to do. Cypher's up 1,300%, while Bitcoin's up 577%. I don't think the people that hold Cypher are disappointed in that. TeraWolf up 1,000%. Iron up 1,000%. Core is up like 20,000%, but that included going through a bankruptcy, in and out of a bankruptcy. So, if you held on, you did very well there. But I do think I think a lot of these are going to end up 2xing Bitcoin this year. So this is the chart I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the bottom of this chart going, okay, are these 3 companies in particular, have they failed? Now, Sour Melon Gaming thinks that yes, Bitfarms has failed. They failed to meet their plan, which is a fact, right? They said they were going to be at 21 exahash at December 31st, 2024. They did not do that. Now, they let us know in late October or something like that they weren't going to hit that, when they had been telling us all along, we're on track, we're on track, we're on track. So shareholders lose a lot of faith. They've had a shakeup in the board of directors. They had a shakeup at the CEO level. They're still really kind of in a quagmire of a hostile takeover situation with Riot, although that's kind of gone on the back burner for the time being. So, there's a lot of things you can look at Bitfarms and go, hey, I'm worried, I'm going to wait. So this may be last to move, or like Sour Melon Gaming thinks, maybe it won't run at all. But if it does, it has a lot of room to run. And then I look at Riot. I think Riot's performing very well. I think their last several operational updates have been some of the best that they've had. So I expect Riot to pass Bitcoin. So it's got a long way to go just to catch up to Bitcoin. So to me, that's why I'm holding Riot. Now, Hive is by far the underperformer out of all these stocks. I don't hold any Hive, so none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to buy or sell any of these, but I'm looking at Hive thinking, man, I must be crazy not holding any Hive. It's up 135%, while Bitcoin's up 577%. Hive very quietly has been doing a really nice job replacing almost every machine in their fleet. They have a big order in to grow to 15 exahash next year. And, I think they could catch Bitcoin. So, that could be a triple or a quadruple.
Tom, I do hold Hive.
You do hold Hive.
And I have a question, though, about Bitfarms. Did they announce when they were going to come up with the 21 exahash?
They've been saying by June 30th.
Okay.
So the more months in a row where they grow 0, the longer the stock is going to suffer. Hey, JJT, looks like you just got here. Hello, welcome. So I understand, I don't know. Bitfarms may linger for a while, or they, one good piece of news. There is a lot of upside, in my opinion, to Bitfarms, which if I go to the Bitfarms, and again, with Bitfarms, in 2024, I was just wrong about Bitfarms. I was wrong about Riot. They had awful years, but I held them and dollar cost averaged in. Riot, I dollar cost averaged. Riot and Marathon went from my 2 smaller positions to my 2 biggest positions. And my Riot position, that was the last thing to leave. That's the last thing I was red on, and I'm now green on that. Even with the fact that it lagged so far behind last year. If you dollar cost average in at the right buying opportunities, you can still, set yourself up nicely. And I haven't sold any of these things. I mean, if you look at Bitfarms, there was strong evidence. I thought $1.65 was going to be a super strong line of support. It actually broke out of that. We had a whole period where it broke out, but I did put a line down here at $1.50. And that goes all the way back to, this is August 29th of 2023. It got to $1.50 and then cascaded down from there. So that was obviously resistance. It's now turned itself into support. So I feel pretty comfortable. We've bottomed out here in Bitfarms. I don't know. We could keep bouncing off of this line. But where has Bitfarms been? Bitfarms was, from where it is today, if you go back to June of 2024, Bitfarms was just about double where it is today. So there have more exahash than they did in June of 2024. The Bitcoin is up dramatically from where it was. So their revenue is way up from where it was in June of 2024, but their stock has been cut in half. So to me, I look at that and I think that spells opportunity. Now, you may look at that and say this stock's gotten beaten up because it's awful. So, that's where everybody's own due diligence comes into play. All right, we are now at 91% think that Bitcoin will hit a new all-time high in the month of January, which basically we need to get from, we're currently at 104. We need to get above 108. It looks like technically on the Bitcoin Coinbase chart on TradingView, we got to $108,388.88. So I am in the yes category on that. How about you, George? Are we going to get to a new all-time high or we got some suffering ahead?
Oh, no, I think we're getting there.
January,
I
new
think
all-time
it's
high.
that time.
So you feel like we're going to get whacked one more time, or have we moved on?
No, I don't. I think we're going to move on.
So this was the washout here at 89,000 in your opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think they tried to get it lower, but they just couldn't. I thought we'd get to 88, but we just didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to 89. That happened to be right to one of our lines of support here, almost exactly. And it's just been straight up from there. I mean, this has been a nice run. That's 17%.
I keep muting so you can't hear the movie.
Gotcha. Thank you. We're at 110 likes. Thanks for getting us over 100 likes. If you have not yet hit the like button, it still does help us out a lot. So if you want to hit the like button, if you haven't, and if you want to subscribe to the channel, we are here every Friday for a live stream. We have a members only live stream every Tuesday where we're able to talk a little more freely about doing a little deeper dive into some of this stuff than we can get away with on the open stream. So you're welcome to do that as well. Or if you just want to subscribe, we would appreciate that as well. So let's see.
I'm the king of going off subject.
Let's hear it.
I've lost 30 pounds in the last month. So
congratulations.
thank you.
That's a big deal.
That is, especially at my age.
How many of us set that
Older
as
than
one of
dirt.
our New Year's resolutions, that we were going to lose weight?
I actually started on Christmas.
I'm down a bunch. I'd like to lose some more weight. I lost weight in 2024. I'd like to lose some more weight in 2025.
Now, I just don't want to lose any money in 2025. So
Yeah.
up with the money, down with the weight.
That's
the
right.
goal. It was the exact opposite last year.
Robbie said this channel was hard on Riot. I was on an island alone, Riot, seemingly. I mean, I can tell you, I just did a Riot deep dive if you want to check that out on my channel. And I have been dollar cost averaging into Riot and letting everybody know that for the last couple of years. So now, there were certain things that, right, I call balls and strikes. So the months where they didn't do what they should have done, I will always do that for all the Bitcoin miners. I go through all the Bitcoin miners' monthly operational reports, and if they had a bad month, we talk about it. I mean, there's no benefit in pretending it's not a bad month, right? They struggled. It took them much longer to get to where they wanted to go. But I did say, I continued to say, and I'm saying the same thing about Bitfarms, this will end up being a better late than never situation. They're going to get where they told us they're going to get to. And now they have. And so it's playing out that way. It's better late than never. They didn't fail at their plans. They just failed at the timing of their plans. And they're not the first ones to do that. So, you know, Riot's done that. Marathon's done that. Bitfarms has done that. As have others. I mean, let's not forget there was a time Iron had to get rid of most of their machines and basically press the reset button and start over. And they've gone from that place. So yes, I was critical of them when they had to hand over the keys to their facilities and give most of their machines back. But look at them now. Now they're mining more Bitcoin than even Riot. They're in third place. So, you know, now I have a very high level of conviction in Riot. I'm sorry, in Iron. In both, actually. Let me find an article that talks about this. Okay, so I like to, if JP Morgan says something good, I like to show it because I show it every time they see something bad. So hold on. I can't help myself. So at the same time, we got Jamie Dimon, who's the longtime CEO of JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon still sees, quote, no value in Bitcoin. He thinks Bitcoin's worth zero. So he's the head of JP Morgan. But fortunately, he's not necessarily at all their trading desks, because they put out this article today. Bitcoin miners have started 2025 on a strong footing, JP Morgan says. So we just looked at the numbers and we saw 10 of the 12 Bitcoin miners, and we follow the top 12. There are more. There's 10 or more very small microcap, nanocap Bitcoin miners out there, but saying starting the year on a strong footing. And this from JP Morgan. The combined hash rate of miners tracked by the bank has doubled in the last year to roughly 30% of the global network. Bitcoin miners have enjoyed a strong start to the year and have outperformed the digital asset, the report said. Well, we just looked at all the numbers and saw 10 of the 12 of them outperformed Bitcoin so far this year. That is different than 2024 when the opposite was happening. The combined hash rate of the 14 miners tracked by the banks accounts for about 30% of the global network. The total market cap of these companies has increased 16% this year. We're only 17 days into this year, and as a group, they're up 16%. So they're doing well. I think this is going to be the year for the Bitcoin miners. Now, I will say, I thought they were going to do a lot better in 2024 than they did. So my timing is off on this for sure. But I do think 2025 is going to be, the big push for Bitcoin. And for the Bitcoin miners, it's when they're going to get to show from a financial statement standpoint that they're performing well. And all of these companies, particularly Marathon, Riot, and CleanSpark, are incredibly heavily shorted. And at some point, when these guys are minting money, these shorts are going to have to get out. And I don't know when that's going to be, right? Because trying to pick a time is the most dangerous game you can play in the market, in my opinion. Now, if you're a swing trader and you have your own methodology and that's what you do, then, there's ways to make a lot of money at that. But if you get that wrong, unfortunately, more retail investors buy high and sell low. And obviously, the companies that short, they're hoping they're shorting them high and buying them back low. But I do think the Bitcoin miners have turned the corner and these shorts are going to have to get out. They're probably still all in a good spot because these stocks were driven down, So they may be able to get out at break even, but they're going to have to get out in 2025, in my opinion. Said Jamie needs to retire. Yeah, I think he's going to retire in a couple of years. I mean, it's getting about that time. Robbie said, operationally, you were right about Riot for sure, Tom. So, and that's what I was talking about. And we always have to look at two things, the operations of the company and the performance of the stock. So, that's why I have this chart that shows, here, this is how the stocks performed this week. So I'm always looking at this every way I can possibly slice it. But then I have this series of charts. How did the company perform? And, they give monthly. We're fortunate in this industry. We get monthly comprehensive updates, right? So we get to see, a lot of insight into how these companies perform on a monthly basis versus having to wait for quarterly financial statements. So we get to know what's going on here. And from a hodl standpoint, just so you guys can see what I'm saying, Marathon this was as of December 31st, almost 45,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They bought a bunch of Bitcoin in December. Riot bought a bunch of Bitcoin in December. They have almost 18,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Hut bought almost 1,000 Bitcoin to get themselves over 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And CleanSpark just put out a press release a week ago that they are now over 10,000. They will not buy Bitcoin. They've said they're not going to buy any Bitcoin, but they're going to keep the vast majority of Bitcoin. They're going to hodl the majority of the Bitcoin that they earn. So they've gotten themselves up to over 10,000. So you can see there's 4 companies that are just on another level. But the one that I think gets an honorable mention, Hive, which we looked at, which is drastically underperforming Bitcoin in the last 2 years, they have 2,800 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So they are a smaller company than the rest of the ones we look at. There's 2 or 3 of these that are just smaller than the rest. But if Hive can get 3,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, if they can get to 15 exahash, I think there's room for them in this marketplace because they're a very, very efficient company. So, and again, I happen to not own any of them right now. Sounds like George told us he does own some Hive, but this is the next thing I'll be looking at. Again, not financial advice, and I don't know if I'm going to buy it or not, but it just seems like maybe I will buy some 2026 options on Hive because it just seems like there's some massive opportunity there if they execute. So again, that's always a big question mark. Right? Hut was another one who didn't do what they said they were going to do, and then they never did what they said they were going to do. BitDigital didn't do, they said they were going to get from 2.5 exahash to 6 exahash in 2024. Well, they actually went, Here, let's take a look. They actually went the other way. They finished the year at 1.8 exahash. So, Bit Digital, if you think you're mad at Bitfarms grew 50% in 2024. Bit Digital shrank 50%. So, and their stock is up way more than Bitfarms. Now, they have a high performance computing, and they do have some nice contracts on the high performance computing side of their business. I think they're abandoning. I think Bit Digital is done with Bitcoin mining. That's my personal opinion. They have not officially said that, but actions speak louder than words. It looks like they've had it with this. They do hodl like 800 or 900 Bitcoin as well. So, they do a little bit of mining. They have a little bit of a hodl position, but it keeps shrinking, not growing. As the network, is growing, they're becoming a smaller and smaller. And you can look, if we look at the number of Bitcoin mined, Bit Digital mined 32 Bitcoin. I mean, they almost don't belong on this list. We're looking at companies mining, 900, 890, 668. These two were over 500. Core Scientific is close to 300. Cypher and Bitfarms are over 200. I think it's good. What's going to be real interesting this year and what's going to be exciting to watch is Core Scientific is at 5 right now. I think Cypher, Bitfarms, TeraWolf, Bit Digital, and HUT all have a chance to pass Core Scientific in Bitcoin mining. Now, Core Scientific has multi-billion-dollar contracts on their high-performance computing side of their business. So they're not the same businesses. Core Scientific made a strategic decision to focus on that side of the business. They didn't get rid of their Bitcoin. You can see they're still the 5th biggest miner. They have 19 exahash running. But I do think there's a half a dozen companies that come December 31st are going to be ahead of Core Scientific. Or stand a very good chance of doing so. And I see somebody asking in the comments, Tom, why did BitDeer collapse over 10% today? So let's see what BitDeer did. Yeah, I mean, first of all, everything went way off of its highs for the day. It's red on the day, but I'm going to go back to, I just think sometimes you got to, let me find this chart. This was December of 2024. So this was last month. You've got Bitcoin that was down 4% in December of 2024. 11 of the 12 Bitcoin miners got, let's call it, they got wrecked. Down between 19 and 39% in 1 month. That's a train wreck. In that time, BitDeer was up 52%. So I think the market is just naturally correcting itself. In January, the reverse of this is happening to an extent. BitDeer's still way ahead if you take December plus January, right? Because year to date, they're minus 4%. Well, plus 50% in December, they're still close to, they're at 47%, 46%, 47%. Well, the best one on this list is at 31%, and you got to subtract the 20 or 30 or 40% they were down in December. So, sometimes these after a giant run, you're going to get a period of consolidation. And I think that's what's happening to BitDeer. And they have a lot of things that they're telling us they're going to do. So they have gigantic plans, including releasing a series of new machines, increasing and improving their fleet efficiency dramatically in size as well. So we'll see what happens. Trying to catch a couple of the comments. And Midway saying BitDeer is raising a lot of money from its ATM at favorable prices that will be good for investors in the long term. Yeah, if you're going to do an ATM, this is when you want to do an ATM, when your stock spikes 52%. Right? That's good news, because we know a lot of these companies need to raise money. Now, I will say 6 companies in November and December kind of switched gears and did convertible debt. And I think we're going to see a lot more convertible debt going forward than we are going to see at the market offerings, although I don't think those are going to go away. I think we're going to see a mix, and I think it's going to skew towards the convertible debt, which seems to be, MicroStrategy proved out that was the market prefers that method. And if I look at MicroStrategy, and if I go the 1 year on MicroStrategy, they're up 722%. So all those Bitcoin miners we just looked at that, did whatever they did, MicroStrategy destroyed them all over the last 12 months. So I just bought some MicroStrategy at $290. It couldn't have been a week ago. Here, let's look on the 5-day. What does this say it got to? 285 on December 31st. This got down to, so it's up $100 in 17 days. So, this is how these things can run. MicroStrategy's been a great play, and I know there are a lot of people that are all into MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy to 3650 is asking, why isn't MicroStrategy on these charts? I try to look at the MicroStrategy chart on its own and then show what it did versus the other ones, because they don't mine any Bitcoin, but they are certainly a pure play Bitcoin. To me, you can buy the asset itself, right? You can go buy Bitcoin. You can buy it centralized. You can buy it decentralized and put it in your own wallet. You can now buy Bitcoin by buying an ETF. You can get exposure to Bitcoin through MicroStrategy, which so far has proven to be a highly leveraged play on Bitcoin. And then you've got the Bitcoin miners. So those are the different ways to get access to Bitcoin, the most direct access to Bitcoin. And of those, MicroStrategy this year has been the massive, massive winner. They're up 2,600% in 5 years. Right. And you can see really most of that is, 2024 and 2025. When they really started, they pretty much doubled they bought a couple 100,000 Bitcoin in the last 12 months. Go take a look. MicroStrategy added 2,530 Bitcoin for $243 million. Bringing their holdings to 450,000 Bitcoin. So they now own 450,000 Bitcoin, and the market likes what they're doing. And the vast majority of this has been convertible debt. They do have at the market offerings. In fact, somewhere here, I got, let me find it so I don't guess at it. MicroStrategy is targeting a $2 billion perpetual preferred stock offering. So they're looking to do a preferred stock offering in a perpetual preferred stock. Essentially, they're going to be giving a dividend to a preferred stock. So it's different than the common stock. But they're looking to do, this is an at-the-market offering for $2 billion. And you know what they're going to do with every penny of that. They're going to go buy another $2 billion in Bitcoin. They're not stopping. They've told us. They've been crystal clear. They've allotted another, I think, $40 billion or something like that over the next 5 years to buy more Bitcoin.
Is it true that he has a theme song? And it's called It's Only Just Begun. Sorry.
I think he would agree with that theme song. If you listen to, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard Michael Saylor talk. He's talking about a price targets between 13 million and 40 million per Bitcoin. Those are 20 to 40 year price targets. But guess what? We'd all be so lucky. That would be, your best performing asset.
Can you imagine if that really happens? I mean, 20 million. I mean, that's crazy.
It's hard to wrap your mind around. You know, he throws those numbers around like they're a given. It's a fait accompli. But it's really, really hard to imagine one single Bitcoin being worth 15 or 20 million dollars.
What would Bitcoin have to be total market cap at 20? If one Bitcoin is worth 20 million.
One Bitcoin was worth 20 million. That would be a 20x. I mean, it would be like $100 trillion.
It's not. It's not. It's not. What's the word? It's 100% plausible. Those are the numbers I'm expecting. By the way, I'm expecting more than one asset to be worth 100 trillion.
$100 trillion, not just the entire cryptocurrency universe. Yeah, I mean, these are, but remember, if we're talking about 40 years from now, 100 trillion isn't going to mean what it means today.
Right.
Right, 100 years ago, there was one billionaire on the face of the earth. Now, I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen. I understand that $1 billion is an astronomical amount of money, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of billionaires.
Well, think about how many millionaires there are.
Yeah, there's millions. There's more millionaires than there are Bitcoin. It's not close.
Oh, really? So it says only 21 million. Well,
21 million Bitcoin. So there will be millionaires that do not own a Bitcoin. That's just the math on it. So you're
saying there's more than 21 millionaires?
Yes.
And across, I wonder how many, do you think there's like 100 million millionaires?
I would have to look it up, but I have seen this number before, and it's more than the number of Bitcoin. I mean, you guys can look it up. Seeker said Mara's hodl value increased $228,548,000 today. Let's give a thumbs up for the hodl miners. This is why I think you're going to see them have a good year this year. They're going to get rewarded for this, especially, you know, Marathon is the most aggressive. They're hodling 100% of their Bitcoin. They're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin. Riot has started to do the same thing. And Cleanspark's hodling somewhere between 98 and 100% of their Bitcoin every month. Now, conversely, you've got companies like Iron and TerraWolf and Core Scientific. They hold, you know, they don't even report how much they hold. It's insignificant. And if you look at their balance sheets, you'll see their digital assets are somewhere near zero. So, you know, they just sell all their Bitcoin as they mine it. So that's two totally different philosophies. Now, I think Iron, with the amount of Bitcoin they mine, at the price they mine it, and at the energy cost that they disclosed, I think they're going to make a lot of money. But you know, they're not going to be able to compete with the amount of money that Marathon's going to make because their 45,000 Bitcoin went up, you know, $10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 or 50,000 or whatever it is. I think for this quarter that's already gone by, Bitcoin went up $30,000. We'll see what happens in the first quarter. And Shaman is saying it's around 60 million millionaires in the world. Thank you for that info. Thanks for checking that out for us.
60 million, huh?
That's 3 times as many millionaires as there are Bitcoin. Midway 1 is saying the safest picks here are probably Iron, Cleanspark, and Mara. So I happen to 100%. I don't think those are the only 3 good stocks. I hold more than that. But those are my top 3 stocks right now out of the Bitcoin mining stocks. And all 3 of them have differences in their business models. But I think all 3 of I think those had the three best December operational reports. I think they had the best 2024s. And there were other companies as well that I think had a good 2024. But I would agree, to me, I think those are the top three right now. And I just think, just based on the fact that Marathon owns 45,000 Bitcoin, they're probably going to own 100,000 before this is over. And if Bitcoin goes on a run, I mean, it's just math. Their stock's going to have to go up. Now, if Bitcoin doesn't go on a run, then, you know, we're all wrong and we all guessed wrong. And that's that. So with that said, let's ask. One second. Okay, so this is a question we try to ask with each stream. Where will Bitcoin peak in this cycle? So I'm saying we're now at the point where, in my mind, that's the next 12 months. Some people think the cycle will last a little longer. Maybe it's the next 12 to 18 months. But where do we think Bitcoin is going? Would you got to vote?
No. Let's think. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm on record.
Two-ish?
I changed my price target from 150,000 to 175,000. 150,000 was the number I picked a year and a half ago. And I just last week, officially on last Friday's live stream, bumped it up to 175,000. And I will tell you, in your words, George, it's a fluid situation because we're going to go through the first 100 days of a new presidency. So some things are going to shake out. And depending on how they shake out one way or the other will depend on whether, you know, I think maybe we're going to even go higher than that. But I'm not ready to say that yet. I think with government, everything takes longer than you want it to, and it's harder to do than you want it to be. So I think we're going to get a lot of favorable things, but I don't think we're going to get everything we want.
Well, look at this. The 6.5 billion that was just sold will probably come back.
Right, and potentially a lot more.
Right.
And at this point, 6.5 billion, I mean,
I know
it's starting to be chump change for Bitcoin.
But it does move it. That's my whole point.
Absolutely. In the short term, you'll see a move that will affect Bitcoin. Here's the Bitcoin ETF. So after a period of kind of going sideways and you know, this is where I was saying you'll see red, bunch of red days. This is where people were talking about, hey, how low can we go? Well, look, on Wednesday and Thursday, we had $755 million of inflow on Wednesday. By the way, almost none of that from BlackRock. And then Thursday, the opposite, $626 million of inflow, $527 million from BlackRock. So back to back, these are two of the highest numbers. I mean, you'll see 2 days here that were even better coming into the year, 908 million, 978 million, but altogether, that's $37 million of inflow. That counts the price at which Bitcoin was when they bought them. The Bitcoin ETFs are now worth over $100 billion.
So I have a question, Tom. Will the whole accounting system change for MicroStrategy?
They're gonna adopt the new system, and I think there's a period of time at which they can adopt the new system. Most of these companies are adopting it as soon as they can. What I really want to look into, and again, we need a tax expert, because I don't think the gap rules, the FASB rule that they just put in that's taking effect, is how these companies can record items on the books. But I have to believe there's going to be a book to tax difference. I don't think they're going to have to pay taxes on that. And I will tell you, I have not researched this at all, so this is total speculation on my part. But I would like to know the answer. Is this going to create... So in taxes in business, there's a lot of book to tax differences. You have to do this thing. You know, you got to follow the Financial Accounting Standards Boards to issue your financial statements, but you got to follow the IRS tax code to do your taxes. So there's lots of differences between the two. I'm guessing this is one of them. Otherwise, essentially what that means is these companies would have to be paying taxes on unrealized gains. So that's something we should look into and find out what the answer is.
I will say, Tom, Caspa is up 19% to 13.136.
And I feel like, so again, that's another one I think is going to run big in this alt season. So to me, like, that's got 10x written all over it. Not financial advice. If you're going to play with these small cryptocurrencies, heck, even if you're playing with the big ones, these are this crypto universe is still in an extremely volatile point in its life cycle. It's starting to mature, but we're still very early into this whole thing, right? We're 14 years in, something like that. So, you know, this is still a very, very, very new asset class. But I will say one of the things that has happened is across the board, you know, you had both presidential candidates talking about Bitcoin. So this has reached, you had Jerome Powell announce this and basically said he considers it an asset class. So it has reached a certain status that has, you know, it took 14 years to get there, but I feel like we're past that critical mass moment. And I just do think it's up from here. Yeah, I think we'll have bear markets just like we have in all of the other markets, but I don't think we're going to do another crypto winter where everything goes down 80%. I just really, I can't believe that will happen. I know there's volatility, so we can get wild moves. I think the bigger the moves, even if we get a 35 or 40%, I think those will be more flash type deals. That's my opinion. Where will Bitcoin peak in this cycle? 35% is 150,000 or less is the winner with 35%, 175,000 at 31%, 200,000 at 18%, 250,000 or more at 15%. So I will tell you, these results are drastically lower than they were a week ago. So we've gotten more pessimistic over the last week. We'll have to run this again. We'll run this every week through the whole bull market, and then, you know, we'll see where we end. There we go. So we're at around $104,500 going into the weekend. 108,300-ish is our all-time Bitcoin high. So that's what I'll be looking for next week. I'd like to see us continue in this direction. If you look at a lot of the technicals, you know, we've got So we've got the daily RSI starting to run back up. It bottomed out on the 9th at around 42. We're back up to around 65, but you can see the top of these bull runs, we get into the 80 range, anywhere 75 to 85. So we got a lot of room to run. So to me, I do think we could have this before we have our next pullback. So I'm gonna give the optimistic viewpoint. Especially given the fact we had a fake out. We've had twice now a bullish crossover in the last month. That was a fake out and then another fake out. So is this going to be our third fake out, or are we really going to run up this time? I think the third time's the charm. I have a good feeling for next week. George, any parting thoughts?
Sorry, I had to sneeze. No, I just worry about Monday, and I just pray level heads prevail.
Yes, absolutely. For a safe
transition. Yeah,
That's right.
that's
So- That's important. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, so let's hope for the best all the way around. Hopefully things are moving in the right direction.
Yep.
And hopefully Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners and your portfolios are moving in the right direction. Thank you guys so much for joining us on our Friday live stream. We're here every Friday. So to the members, we will see you on Tuesday. And for everyone else, hopefully we will see you next Friday. Have a great weekend. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.